When it comes to cartoons, Invader Zim truly stands out. It's amazing that such a dark and grim show was able to air on Nickelodeon. How are the censors cool with this? I mean, I'm glad it aired. Just kind of bewildering, right? Invader Zim was one of the first times in my life where I saw a bleak, dystopian future of humanity, where we just watch our televisions, eat our food like pigs, fall in line with the masses and consume.
I want my slaw!
You have your slaw, sir!
I want my slaw!
What kind of chicken you want, mister?
You have your slaw, sir!
I want my slaw!
It's a good thing that never happened.
Knock, knock, open up the door!
Oh, hold on, folks. My Amazon drone just arrived. See, I ran out of melted butter last night while watching The Bachelor. Needless to say, Invader Zim was quite different compared to the lineup of other Nicktoons, and it had a much darker tone. It wasn't happy-go-lucky, or cute, or wholesome. No, quite the opposite. It was very pessimistic, and it worked perfectly with the show's premise. From Godzilla-like hamsters, to bologna flesh, to shooting out pus over people's food, Invader Zim had its fair share of crazy episodes. But there's one in particular that shook me to my core. One that I was able to forget about until some folks on Twitter reminded me of it. Dark Harvest. Yep, the organ-stealing episode. Even when I was a kid and saw this episode, I was like, isn't this a bit much for television? To which then I would run away from the TV and throw up. And if this episode isn't already weird enough, there's this entire thing about some guy named Scott Dileski. In 2005, he went to trial for murder and was actually convicted. During his trial, he cited Dark Harvest as his motivation for committing murder. Something about how he watched the episode and, quote, had become fascinated with collecting body parts and curious as to how the human body would function without certain organs. Now, some folks say that this is an urban legend, and I hope that is the case. Still, that's pretty weird to think that a murderer watched this episode and was inspired by it. So, let's check it out. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of the episode, I want to do a quick rundown of what Invader Zim is about and who's behind it. This show is about Zim. He's an alien who is sent to Earth to conquer it and prepare it for the arrival of the Urkin Empire. Here's the thing though, his leaders hate him and they sent him to Earth to get him as far away from the Armada as possible. It's like they went to a map and said, what's the farthest, most backwater planet we can send this guy to? Earth. Okay, send him there. Also, I love how the base for the system of rule for the Urkin Empire is based on who's the tallest. That's fantastic. On Earth, Zim is joined by Gur, his stupid robot assistant and Hot Topic celebrity. Seriously. If only you all could have seen how popular Gur was with the Hot Topic crowd back in the early 2000s. He was the hero for edgy teenagers everywhere. Then there's Dib, an obsessed human kid who believes in the paranormal and is one of the only humans to know that Zim is actually an alien. He wants to expose Zim and be like, yo, I found him. He's an alien. Everybody, look, I found an alien. But everybody else is too stupid to realize it. Well, except for his sister Gaz, who, let's be fair here, just doesn't care.
I'm only 13 levels away from finishing this game, so I either finish my game or make you wish I was never born.
There's also Professor Membrane, who is arguably one of the funniest dads in animation.
Not scientifically possible!
Now, the show itself was created by Jonan Vasquez. He got his start in the world of comics, but eventually entered the world of television in 2001. Actually, his first cartoon show was Invader Zim. Now, if my resources are correct, Invader Zim is one of the most expensive shows ever made on Nickelodeon. It was also one of the first ones to kind of do this hybrid with 2D animation and computer animation, with the vehicles and the technology in the show. The show ran for 2 seasons, with a total of 27 episodes. but was eventually canceled because of low ratings and the high cost of production. Though, according to Jonin, the reason for cancellation was a bit more complicated than that. Regardless, Zim's time on television came to an end. Except for one more thing. In 2016, there were rumors about an Invader Zim TV movie. Something kind of like the Hey Arnold movie, where it's somewhat of a conclusion and a way to wrap up the show. Now, it took some time, but the TV movie was finally released, and also on Netflix, to which it was very good. It felt like the old show, had the same energy, fun animation. Heck, there were even some parts where they went overboard with the animation, with like pseudo-anime characters.
My name is dBPony. I'm 12 years old.
Overall, it was great. Satisfying conclusion, well done. Wish I could say the same about another show I know. Yeah, I'm still bitter. Alright, so let's talk about the episode. It starts off like most Invader Zim episodes, thematically dark and random.
My organs!
A good start. So Dib wants to know more about Zim's internal organs, and surprise, surprise, he gets a package delivered to him with a device that can see inside bodies.
It's my personal X-scope. I ordered it from the back of Crop Circles magazine.
You had it delivered to school?
Gaz, your character's the best. We then cut back to the classroom, where Miss Bitters is teaching the class about the meaning of Ring Around the Rosie and how it's connected to the bubonic plague. Except, guys, I looked into it, that's false. I gotta say it, I feel like I will never have another chance to get this information out to the world. Ring Around the Rosie had nothing to do with the bubonic plague. That is an urban legend from the Dark Ages. Don't even know if that makes sense. It's just a boring, dumb nursery rhyme, but it would be pretty hardcore if it was related to the bubonic plague. I digress. But hey, bubonic plague, it's pretty on point with this episode's theme. You know, trying to be healthy. But there is a much worse disease than the Black Death. Head pigeon.
Zim! There's a pigeon on your head. You've got head pigeons. Get to the nurse before they spread to the other children. If you leave school grounds, it will explode.
Isn't it fantastic that the hall pass is literally an explosive? It is so wonderfully dark, and I love it. So before Zim leaves the classroom, Dib tells Zim that the nurse will discover that he has no human organs, and that he will be exposed for being the alien that he is. So, what does Zim do? Why, he goes on an organ harvesting rampage, of course. It only makes sense. If you would have told me that I would be watching a cartoon when I was a kid about some alien disguised as a kid running around a school stealing organs like some horror movie, and that it was airing on Nickelodeon, I would have told you that you're wrong. That it wasn't
Scientifically possible!
So Zim finds this hall monitor and steals his liver. And if it wasn't already bad enough that Zim took this kid's liver, he replaced it with the explosive. So picture this. The kid just lost his liver. He feels like he's gonna die. He wants to go to the hospital. The ambulance pulls up to take him out the front door, and the explosive hall pass will trigger, blows up right in the front door. That is so delightfully evil.
Delightfully devilish, Zim.
Dib, who's waiting for Zim, decides, hey, I'm gonna go down to the nurse's office and see what's up. But of course, he's gotta bring his hall pass.
Ms. Bitters, I think a pencil is lodged in my brain.
How far in your brain?
Pretty far.
All right.
Zim is continuing his organ stealing spree and starts to rob from everybody. Well, she's dead. Oh, one of my favorite parts about this episode is how it comes across like a horror movie. Like, you got Zim straight up in the ventilation shafts, running around with his spider legs, hunting down people to harvest their organs. That sounds like the premise for an actual horror movie. It is incredibly dark, and I'm here for it. How the hell did this episode make it onto television? Yeah, hey, you better not show any cleavage. You put that away, Powerpuff Girls. Oh, internal organs leaking out of your mouth? Oh, that's fine. Continue. And here comes the money shot. When I saw this scene as a kid, I thought I was going to throw up. Like, I hate internal organs. I cannot stand the sight of them. Now, I'm glad that I have them, and I'm glad that my organs are functional, but I hate looking at them. No joke, I have nearly passed out twice in movie theaters while watching scenes that have to do with organs. Once for Prometheus, and another time with Annihilation. Each scene from each respective movie have moments, or a moment, where they're cutting somebody open and you can see their organs. And I always try to be tough, where I'm like, okay, I've grown up, I can take it now. Only for the scene to continue, and then I break into a cold sweat, and then I fall over on the nearest shoulder next to me, the first time being my dad, and the second time being my girlfriend. And I'll just whisper to them, I'm passing out. Help me. Dab my forehead with some Diet Coke. I'm gonna die. Needless to say, this scene got me pretty good when I was a kid. And it still kind of does to this very day. So Dib finds one of the last healthy kids in the school and tries to protect him to no avail. The poor kid gets his lungs stolen. Could you imagine going out that way? My lungs have been replaced with toilet paper. How am I talking? Then we get this wonderful confrontation between Zim and Dib, as Zim runs all over the ventilation shaft, chasing Dib around the taxidermy room. They then go to the boiler room, and in this pseudo-horror movie fashion, Zim gets Dib. I don't know what he took from Dib, but I do know what he replaced it with. And finally, both of them are at the nurse's office for their final examinations. Will Zim convince the nurse that he's healthy enough? That he has human organs and there's no questioning it?
Why, you're one of the healthiest little children I've ever seen. And such plentiful organs.
Oh, okay, so he passes. What about Dib?
It isn't human! It's horrible!
And that's the end of the episode. So Invader Zim is one of those kinds of shows where there are some episodes that end where it's like, well, what happens next? Only for the show to reset the board for the following episode. But Invader Zim is also no stranger to continuity. We'll see some recurring characters at times, like Invader Splooge. How did his name get past the censors? Seriously. And there's also Invader Tech. So it's a good combo. A good 1-2 punch, if you will. It keeps things loose, but also rewards viewers who watch the show faithfully. But all in all, Invader Zim was one of the most radical shows on Nickelodeon. It was a ton of fun to watch. It's dark, it's grim, it's dystopian, but it owns it and makes it work. Also, it's hilarious.
Grr, reporting for duty.
Grr? What does the G stand for?
I don't know.
I think Invader Zim was my first introduction into LOL random humor. But once again, they made it work. In my opinion, it's one of the best shows on Nickelodeon, and I was super happy to see it get a satisfying conclusion. It deserved it. But yeah, not sure. I'm gonna pass out in the recording booth from looking at these organs. I gotta go.